Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome back to another episode of Transfer Roundup. Straight into it, Chavez. We're going to go for Manchester United. You signed your striker. What was the official amount paid plus add-ons? Do you remember? Do you know off by heart?
I do know it, but I'm not going to state it because it's not coming out of my bank account. Rasmus Højlund is a very raw talent that we have signed, the Danish international, who I really hope straight off the bat, this guy is not going to score 20 goals next season, which is what I think a lot of people want. We need a striker on the dot who needs to do that. So I feel like we need to still get another striker. But if it is just him, it's still a good signing, and people just need to be patient.
With you, then, is he going to be your starting striker next year, or you think it'll be a bit of a more rotation role, especially for how much
Definitely
he
not in
plays?
the first few games. I think like he might not even be like registered. The way we go, usually a player needs a visa, they then need a plane. That plane needs to arrive. For Man United, it takes 10 years to actually get a player across the board.
Mm.
So I feel like he's not even going to start the first game against Wolves. It's going to be Rashford probably, or Jadon Sancho apparently is playing central this season, which to be fair, he's done all right. And if not, then Martial. We got options, but it won't be Højlund starting. I don't think at the start,
Um,
anyways.
And what does he bring to your team from highlights and like what you've read? What
Mm.
does he bring over other strikers at United in the past and last year? What's he going to bring?
So there's a disease at our club. It's the inability to be clinical, and it happens every game. Happened last night at 2 a.m. when we all had to wake up and watch that game. We missed so many chances, and every player does it. Every player has that problem. We just lack it. And Højlund will hopefully bring that to us because that's what we need. We just need someone who can finish their chances, knows how to maneuver in and out the box because we haven't had that type of striker in a very long time. He's very quick. He's won an award for being quick, 37K, I think, something like that. And Ten Hag has openly admitted, as I said, that he's not looking to build a possession-based team. He's looking to build a Man United team like our old selves, the transition 11. And Højlund will be perfect for that. He's athletic as well. So, yeah, it's good to have.
Because Chavez was too ashamed to admit it's 75 million euros plus 10 million add-ons for a 20-year-old.
Mm.
To your
It's
game now,
just, it's 70 plus 5.
it's 70 plus 10 according to Ornstein, and
I'm not going to argue David Ornstein.
you're not going to. To your game now, you lost 3-2 to Dortmund last night. Am I right in saying that
Yeah.
or early this morning? What are your thoughts on the game? Onana as well. How was he this game? Just tell me your thoughts.
Yeah, so same as Real Madrid, both games I actually enjoyed, even though we lost. Preseason's more about how we're playing, and we do have moments where we look like we're playing Ten Hag style of football, maybe 10 to 15-minute phases, but then it just goes away again. And to be fair, it's difficult when you're playing two different 11s, which is what we've been doing. The first 60 minutes was probably the last chance for Van der Beek, McTominay, Maguire. Some of these players, they started for some reason, they played 60 minutes, and I'm guessing it's because it was their last chance before they potentially get sold. And they didn't really live up to it. Aside from that, Onana came on. And again, one thing I will say, as a fan base, I fully understand that we are deprived of a normal goalkeeper that can play on his feet. So we're obviously going to be overly excitable when we see a keeper who can do it. But Onana is actually elite at it, and it's just great to watch. Like he's the only reason I've woken up for these games is to watch this type of football. Pass out from the back is for me more exciting than a goal at the moment because I'm so not used to it. And Onana is brilliant. He's so good at
Well,
everything. So he's so confident as well, just fearless. And aside from that, every player has their moments. Mount is still fitting in, looks good off the ball. He's on the ball. He's still having issues, but then again, a lot of our players are.
not good,
And
is
yeah,
it?
it'll be
Not good,
interesting
is
to
it?
see. I think the preseason's been good. It's the actual consistent 11 to play. That's not happened. So when that does, which will be next weekend in our next preseason game, then we will see. If we lose to Lens, then sure, you can panic about a preseason game because that 11 will be our main 11, as the second 11 will be in Dublin 24 hours later to play a different match. So it will have to be our first team at Old Trafford on Saturday.
Mount edging very, very closely to the famous 007 as well, something Mudrick
It doesn't happen in preseason. It doesn't
did
count.
not complete. Question I had for you. With this new striker signing, Eric Ten Hag, I believe, has spent more money at his time at United than Jurgen Klopp in his whole Liverpool tenure. Thoughts on that? Does that put Ten Hag under much more pressure this season since he spent more money? What are you expecting from Ten Hag and from United this season if you sign Amrabat as well? I'd say.
Well, if your question is that, do you think we should finish ahead of Liverpool? Then yeah, absolutely. I think it would be poor season to finish behind Liverpool, and a lot of people are putting us to not finish ahead of Liverpool. But yeah, if you're comparing to Klopp, sure, we should be winning a trophy, hopefully a bigger one than the League Cup, and we should be finishing in the top two for me. That is the aim, and in a
Is that
genuine
with
title race.
Amrabat included? If you just get Amrabat and then the window closes, your expectation is second.
Yeah, I think so. Expectation, absolutely. Because the problem is, like, a lot of people say, well, you spent this much money, you should win the league. But Man City are still a few hundred million ahead of us in their project. So you have to compare to what's actually out there. I mean, it's great and all that we spent this much money, but there are teams that are a few years further down the project and they've spent more money. So it would be really weird to say that the expectation is a title or sack him. But yeah, you definitely want to see improvement. And to be honest, a lot of us fans, we just want to see a style of play further implemented because we've seen a bit of it. We've seen glimpses with Ten Hag. Now we want to see it even more, even for further, like more longer periods in the game and for longer periods in the season.
Of course. Very last question from me. I've seen West Ham being linked with Harry Maguire, Scott McTominay, and Dean Henderson. For
Yeah.
them three players, how much are you minimum? Just out of curiosity, would you be the minimum you'd take for them three?
I think Maguire is a good player, and a player like him costs 40 million in this market. But I don't like him. And if we do, like, we have got an offer, I think, of like 20 odd million, I would sell him in a heartbeat. But I think it's also down to him. He wants to fight for his sixth, like, choice spot at the club. He's behind Johnny Evans. By the way, Johnny Evans played last night and looked much better than Maguire. So I don't know where Maguire is in this squad, but he wants to fight for something. McTominay, again, 45 million is ridiculous. But if someone even is willing to pay half that, I would sell McTominay in a heartbeat. But again, the minor injury might change that. And then the next player you said was Dean Henderson, who, again, these players can't go out on loan because I don't see how that helps us. We need to sell Dean if we want to do business. And again, I would sell. I think Dean Henderson is our biggest asset at the club. I think he's 40 million plus. He's a good goalkeeper. And we should not be letting him off for like 15 million, which I think I saw that disgusting price.
Too good for a number two, in your opinion? You think he can play?
Oh, 100%. He has to go. He has to.
Dan, any of your thoughts on Manchester United in general? They just got the new striker in.
Yeah, no, as I'll start off with the friendly. Obviously, I know you lost. I saw Maguire getting screamed at, but as you said, it said it perfectly. It's pre-season friendly. You don't start to worry. Same as you said about the Mount thing. If this is still going on 5, 6, 10 games into the season, then obviously alarm bells might start ringing. But yeah, you're playing somewhat of a decent opposition. Obviously, it is what it is. Same as the Wrexham game. You played a weaker team. Yeah, you lost to Wrexham, but it wasn't the Man United starting 11.
That was just a different squad. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. It's not like it's like World War III is about to start off in Manchester because you're losing games left, right, and centre. In terms of Højlund, if he comes in and scores 10, 15 goals, as you said, he might not. We don't know what's going to happen. Then it's somewhat a successful signing or a successful first year at least. But it's as you said, I saw a thing and it was like it took Rooney 3 seasons to get to 20 goals, and then it took him 4 seasons to get to 20 league goals, and it took Ronaldo as you said, like
Ronaldo was even slower.
Yeah, so it's not the be all and end all. If like you touched on it before, like Weghorst didn't do a job, but he come in to do play the role that he came in to do was essentially a battering ram. Same as Højlund might come in and play that role, a sort of a battering ram, and allow Anthony or Rashford or whoever else you're going to be playing on the wings to come into the game a bit more. So it depends how Ten Hag deploys him.
I was going to say one thing that Sky, just because we have 2 Scandinavians now in the Premier League, we as a fan base, we are not comparing Højlund to Haaland. From the very get-go, I want to make that very clear because it will come about a few months down the line. They'll start comparing Haaland's 100 goals to Højlund's 10. And we never did this. Just because they sound the same and they're from a similar part of the world does not mean they are the same. And we are not doing that. Haaland is extraordinary and Højlund is just learning. And if Højlund even has, I would say, 50% of the career that Haaland is about to have, he will have a very good career. So that's just straight away. Like, that's to make that claim. And also, I was going to ask you guys a question. So what do you think would count as a successful season for Højlund? Dan, you kind of touched on it, but how many goals? Premier League goals?
I'd say
first season.
I'd say 10,
10,
12.
So hard to judge. I think at least
that'd be
You know, 10 would be a lot. Like, I would actually be surprised.
At a club like Man United, who tend to be odd, even when you weren't playing particularly well last season, you were on top of teams, you were on top of games. You do have a lot of the ball under Ten Hag's sort of ethos and way of football.
We just didn't finish it, so he will get.
That's chances. What I'm saying. It's not like, I don't know, he's gone to Everton, for example, to replace Calvert-Lewin, and he's going to have none of the ball, 6 shots for the whole season, and everyone's expected him to bag 20 goals. He's at a, maybe not as such now, because obviously the last couple of seasons, but a big club who's going to have a lot of the ball, a lot of chances. So you'd be looking 8 minimum. 12 would probably be a very good season, I would say.
If he got 5, would you would you classify him as a flop? 5 Prem
Depends.
goals, and he
It
played quite a
depends
bit. He
what
played a
other. It
majority of the
depends
season.
what other involvements he gets. Because if he gets 5 goals, 5 assists,
He's not really
See,
going to be the type to get assists. He's always going to be the on the end of it.
I think in years too little time
yeah.
to declare as a flop. I mean, I didn't call Werner a flop after first year.
But the thing is, the price gets quoted, and he is the price he is now. That can never change. He's whatever you said, 70 plus 10. So he's always going to have that on him, which is a problem.
True. Very true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Move on to Chelsea, who went invincible. We're invincible now. We won the summer series, whatever.
We won the Premier League.
We won the Premier League, absolutely. We did. Reece James looked very thrilled to be lifting that. He didn't look like he cared at all. But positives for me were Nkunku, again, played very well. Carney Chukwuemeka was very good that game. And Andre Santos is looking decent. At the first, I thought he's a bit raw, but he's really grown into him. And I want to see us keep him to have a role in the squad next season. He's looking good. I'm really enjoying life on the Poch. I think there's a lot of people I've spoken to have actually put Chelsea higher than what I think. A lot of people put them in the top 4 that I've spoken to, but I don't think we'll finish top 4. So it's like a lot of people have, like, they're scared of this Chelsea team. They're scared of Poch. They say we've got a good manager and he's just going to build. I don't know if you guys agree or not. Like, there is potential here.
I think,
a lot of people are for this.
Well, obviously, Chavez can speak from a Premier League fan's point of view, but I'll speak from an outsider. I don't think there's, obviously, you've got a young, as you touched on, maybe your whole team's not necessarily raw, but you've got a lot of young talent, or you've got a lot of frailties in the squad in terms of like Reece James. You don't know whether he's going to be fit for a whole season, or even Chilwell as well. He had a big injury. You don't know if he's going to be able to stay fit for a whole season. And obviously, you've got a lot of new players trying to come in, trying to gel. Yes, you've won the Premier League series or whatever it's called, but it's also, there's been a lot of goals and a lot of like put together sort of results, if that makes sense. Like, it's not like a normality. Like, they should be trying, because it's obviously a warm-up game, but do you know what I mean? It's not like followed form of the Premier League. So, but I think they're more scared. What I was going to say was, instead of actually the actual team or the players, maybe they're scared of Poch, because they know what he did with that Tottenham side was probably massively overachieving, sort of in the back of their minds of, will he do the same with this Chelsea team who's not quite there? So will he be able to do it with these players?
No, I think that's a good point. Chavez, your thoughts? It's just good vibes around Chelsea at the moment, to be honest. I don't see many fans complaining, maybe in terms of transfers, but in terms of the players we have in the team, it's the best vibes probably I've seen in a very long time.
I think it was like this for us last season, where in pre-season we looked extraordinary, and then we came out of it and suddenly the Prem came, and it's going to hit you hard because your first game's at Anfield, right? Or is it? Yeah. You're home.
Yeah.
Your first game is Liverpool either way, and that's a really tough one to start with. I don't think you should look too deep into it. Again, the patterns of play are more important than the results. So I don't. If you're looking at more from we've won every game perspective, then that doesn't mean anything. It's more about, do you actually see a type of play under Poch that looks consistent?
Exactly. That's what for me it's that.
Because that's what's going to stick through. The results, anything can happen. And I think a lot of it is reactionary. A lot of people before this preseason did not put Chelsea in the top 4, and a lot of them are just reacting to a good preseason. So you never know. Like, you'll know. By the way, if Chelsea beat Liverpool in the first game and they do it with some level of convincing, then I think everyone will suddenly say Chelsea are going to finish top 4. And why would you not? Beating Liverpool is not easy, especially in the first game.
Absolutely, I agree with you. Someone even said, it's just a random person tweeting, but they said, could be a potential title contender. But for me, it's too early and the players aren't good enough. I think people just overestimate the summer leagues and all that. So as you said, you lost the first 2 games, didn't you, last season to Palace and Brentford?
Then it was after we beat Liverpool and we looked good in preseason, and look what happened.
It was a crisis check again. But for me, it's more the patterns of play I'm seeing under Poch. And as we said, he did really well under Spurs. So I think we've got a top manager on our hands. In terms of signings, we just got Disasi, something like that. I don't know too much.
Learn how to say that.
The only thing I know about him, he did partner Badiashile at Monaco, and I think United were after him. He was on United's list of centre back. So yeah, and I have seen the memes. He's lower than Wout Weghorst. Maguire's faster than blah blah blah. That doesn't faze me at all, really. I don't think defenders' pace is the main thing. Saw players like Tim Ream, like 38 last year, wasn't he? He was really old, shining as well. So I don't think pace as a centre back is as important as everyone says. But yeah, terms of transfers, Casado's still not done. Just a loophole again. It's just going around in circles. A bit like your De Jong, basically, but I think we'll actually get this done in the end. Sanchez as well. You guys telling me that's personal
Pascal
terms agreed?
Towns, yeah.
I know we are rumored with him, but I'm a bit hesitant. He's a number 2 at Brighton. What makes him going to be number 1 at Chelsea?
Would you say Sanchez is a better goalkeeper than Kepa?
Probably not.
Sanchez is number 2 at Brighton because he's leaving.
Of steals.
No, it's because he's leaving. He was
But
playing,
he wasn't. But that was also halfway
was
through
he
last
not?
season.
But was he? Did he not get injured and then it was come out that he was leaving, and then still just played the rest of the season? Was that not correct? I thought he got dropped because he was leaving, and obviously you're not going to play someone.
Because the other keeper's actually quite good. He just didn't get his chance back, Sanchez, because the other keeper was faultless.
Maybe. To be honest with you, I'm not too sure. Maybe, Dan, you obviously know more or you've read more this than us, but for me, he was number 2 at Brighton. If you're number 2 at Brighton, like with Chelsea Football Club.
So if it meant sticking with Kepa for another season, would you not get Sanchez?
I thought that's what we were doing. I thought we were firming that after we lost Onana. We didn't go for Onana, to be honest. And David Raya, for me, we're going to move on to David Raya and Arsenal links, but I think he's a bit too expensive for one more year left in his contract.
But it's not your money.
It doesn't matter.
Well, Chelsea have already spent so much. Why does it matter now about money? Why do
But
you
we're
care?
negotiating for Caicedo. We're being smart about it now. That approach has gone that we were talking about last year.
The thing is, I think you'll end up getting Caicedo, and it looks like Brighton really don't need to sell. They just got he just signed a new contract like a year or two ago. He's young. They don't need to sell, so you'll end up paying. If you do get him, it will be like 100 million. It will be what they want. So it's a tough situation to be in.
Well, we signed another youngster fully, and we're going to loan him back for about 25 minutes. Sorry, I've forgotten his name. I should know his name, but apparently that's Brighton's replacement for Caicedo. So maybe 4D chess. So you never know. But yeah, Caicedo needs to happen though. We're still very short on midfielders. Has to happen.
I had a question about Enzo and his spooky preseason.
Go for it.
It's been a spooky preseason for Enzo. He's not really settled in, from what I've heard.
Why? Because he missed that chance in the last game.
No, I've just heard he's not had a good preseason. Like some Chelsea players have really excelled. He's been very quiet for someone who's he is the most expensive Premier League player in history.
Is he? Oh, he is.
Is he? He is. Yeah. That could change any minute. Someone could spend 150 while we're talking the way things are going these days. But like, he is
all right. I think he's been all right. He's not been standout. I mean, obviously, youngsters like Santos are going to stand out more because he's like so raw and playing like this, and Mudryk as well, and the goals and stuff. But is it because there's no GNA and he missed? Is that the reason why people were saying he was poor?
I think people expect GNA from just the most expensive player in Premier League history.
It's harder for a box to box, though, isn't it?
Well, you say that, but Mount is also. You kept saying Mount 007, and he's the exact same position. So,
yeah, but I thought Mount was a bit more advanced than that. To be honest, I thought he was more advanced than Enzo.
He's an advanced state.
Is that what you guys are playing him? Advanced state? Is that what you're
Bruno and him?
A shit 10.
He's advancing on 007.
Yeah, it was 8.5 or something. Yeah. Other transfers now came out
Arsenal.
yesterday. David Raya, potential links to Arsenal.
I like him. That'd be a good sign.
Arsenal fans in meltdown saying Ramsdale's not good enough, etc. I think they're just. We all know what Ramsdale's like. I've always said this. He's a bit of a camera keeper. He's good with his feet. Not great in terms of like saving the ball, shot stopping abilities. But do you guys think Raya to Arsenal will happen? And what do you guys think of that?
One thing I was going to say is I actually personally think Ramsdale's a good goalkeeper. I think he bailed Arsenal out of a few situations last season. Arsenal, a lot of football fans, they go with the flow. So what their club do, they will back it no matter what. Arsenal fans, I feel like, do it the most. Where suddenly after that emotional video that they posted of Ramsdale a few weeks ago, well, did he sign a new contract? I don't even know what it was. They just released a video where Ramsdale was thanking the fans. And everyone was behind him. And now suddenly one little bit of interest, one tweet about Raya, and they've all turned on him. They've said that, oh, look how quickly we're reacting and this and that. And Ramsdale's not good enough, made one mistake against Man United in a preseason match in America. I don't think there's much loyalty with Arsenal fans. They just kind of support everything the club does regardless, which to some extent you should do. But he is one of your own. And nothing's even happened concrete. There was just interest in Raya. No bid's been made. And already it's about, new keeper. So yeah, Arsenal fans crack me up. They change their mind every day.
No, I agree with you there. Furthermore on that, it's Kvaratskhelia links to Arsenal. I know that's obviously very, very, very much paper talk. Dan, I'm going to come to you first.
Yeah,
You think they got the
as
budget?
his Everton
They're spending a lot of money, man.
technical difficulties from Chavez. So we'll start with the Championship follower. If they have got the money, it'd be a good signing. The only thing is, it would knock out obviously one of their wingers because you can't take out Erdegaard obviously in the number 10 role because he's the captain. It's like, but you can't take out Saka because the form he's in, which means obviously leaves him Martinelli losing his spot. So they've obviously also the only.
Who's the next player? You're right. Who's the next player they're going to turn?
That's
Gabriel next?
But that's the thing. But also on the right, you can't, like, unless they're going to play him through the middle and use Jesus as a backup or a starter on the right in front of Saka. Or unless it's just bolstering their squad. Same as we said with Liverpool a couple of seasons ago. Like they sold Mane, for example, and then bought in Nunes. Had they kept Mane and then bought in Nunes or Gakpo or pick any player they signed on the left, it would have been a good addition to the squad. But because they've sold a brilliant player and bought in a player, they haven't. They've just stagnated. They haven't moved anywhere. So if Arsenal bolster in their attack and bolster in their squad, because obviously with the other competitions this season, then it's a good signing. But it does mean one of their forward players that did play well last season will be losing out on a spot, or at least trying to prove themselves for a spot.
I think it's very unlikely, to be honest. I do want to quickly go back now. Chavez is back to the whole Ramsdale riot thing. Is this potentially similar with Onana? Is he too good with his feet and not good enough shot stopping? Do you think all future keepers are going to have this issue? Like,
well, Onana's been brilliant with, like, he saved so many shots. He's not made a mistake yet when it comes to that.
I mean, with Ramsdale,
I think Ramsdale is a good goalkeeper.
Didn't he
just
keep
made
him in
one.
the Liverpool game at the end or the Southampton game? He stopped.
Yeah, he's had brilliant moments, and I know people say he's a camera keeper, this and that, but he's literally made some incredible saves, and he's not. This would be so, like, I don't know. This would be so impulsive to buy Raya now, because it's not easy just to replace a goalkeeper like that. Man United faffed about with it for ages, because it is a big thing. We still don't know what's going to happen with Onana first game at Old Trafford. Wolves might press like crazy. You might make, like, you don't know. So to just make a decision just like that on a keeper they signed as part of Arteta's project, it would be crazy. And Raya isn't all that for it to be. If it was an Onana or if it was Mignao from AC Milan, or, like, someone that good, then you do it like a Donnarumma. But you don't do it for David Raya.
Yeah, the only argument, just counter argument as well. Obviously, when people go, he's a camera keeper. A goalkeeper's job is to keep the ball out of the net, and whether he does it enthusiastically or not, or overreact. But if he keeps the ball out of the net, he keeps the ball out of the net. Doesn't matter how he saves it, whether it's with his.
The camera keeper thing is a laugh. Like, it's obviously.
Oh yeah, but there are some fans that do take it seriously.
I've also seen Ramsdale miss savable shots. To be honest.
That happens to every keeper,
etc. It happens, but I think it happens to him more. Like, he's excellent with his feet.
He's also still very young.
He is quite young for a keeper. That's another thing.
I think they just need to trust in him.
Yeah.
If obviously he's going to know what the situation is. Obviously, it's paper talk or it's links or whatever. But obviously, Arteta, I presume, would have sat down with him and gone, "We're looking for another keeper," or going, "Don't worry yourself, you're my number one." So he's going to know. But then obviously, if he is going. If Arteta has gone to him, well, you're going to be my number two, we're looking for another keeper, it's going to shoot his confidence to bits. So when he does end up playing, whether it was the Man United mistake, yes, it was a pre-season friendly, or as you said, losing leads towards the end of the season, or making mistakes, or like that Southampton mistake he made, stuff like that, they're all going to catch up to him, I think. It could not end badly, but end badly for him, obviously, at Arsenal. And
it would just be betrayal. It feels like betrayal. He's been part of their process, and he was one of the big signings, the one that they made against all the odds. Everyone... Yeah. We all said it. We all didn't. We all thought the signing was going to flop, and it's not really flopped. Like, that would be outlandish to say. So yeah, it feels like betrayal if they did that.
No, I understand. I mean, it's all paper talks at the end of the day. I mean, it could happen, might not happen.
This one's not, though. See, this is the problem. This was actually Fab or Ornstein tweeted this saying there is genuine interest. That's the problem. Or else I wouldn't even be talking about it.
No, I agree with you. Next, back to Saudi. Saint Maximan's got their. They bidded for Osimhen. What do you guys think? More Saudi Verratti as well, another one.
One thing that cracked me up about that transfer for Osimhen is that the request from Napoli is that they want 150 million when the bid was for 140, which they should have just asked for more, because that's going to be done in 10 seconds. 10 million, that's nothing. So they could have asked for more, but we'll see. If Osimhen goes there now, I don't want to see players like Osimhen going now, because he's not. Is he young? Like, how old is he? He's not old. He shouldn't be going now, but
I'll get you a check on that while
And
But
Arena.
Verratti again, Verratti's an annoying one because I genuinely my whole life have rated Verratti so much. He's one of the most press-resistant footballers you'll ever see. Dream come true player. I used to say back in the day that if we had a player like Verratti, we could be going for league titles. And now we haven't really seen him. He's not won the Champions League, and he's played in Ligue 1 for kind of his peak, and now he's going to go Saudi, which is so annoying, really annoying.
you think he's a very good Prem player, couldn't he? He could.
He's the one that got away type, like, he'll be one of them. What could have been type of players.
No, of course, and he's 30 now, isn't he? I think he's still got time in that. I mean, look at Modric's longevity and stuff like that. That's the type of players you should be basing it on. And
players can play on for years now with all the sports science and all the other stuff that's been added to the
Verratti
game.
definitely can. Look at him. He looks like the most fittest athlete out there. Like, he definitely can.
And speaking on Saudi, we did say last week we'd all accept a bid if we were Mbappe to go to Saudi for a year. I think it's come out that he doesn't want to go there. Chelsea potential links. Obviously, Real Madrid is where he wants to be eventually. Liverpool, I heard at one point as well. I don't know how concrete. These are just all like team.
People are just chucking him out for no reason.
I think Mbappe's prime. He's in the best position right now because if Mbappe doesn't leave PSG and says no, then PSG have a choice. They can either bench him and play the strong card, but they're not going to do that. It's Mbappe. You're not going to leave the best player in the world just there. So eventually they'll just let him back in.
They'll risk him going for free next year. Then
But then what can PSG do? Mbappe's just going to say no to everything.
They have to sell.
But how can they do that if Mbappe says no? Mbappe's contracted to PSG.
Well, do you think Chelsea at all could get Mbappe?
No, but Mbappe won't agree personal terms with any team, and it will end in termination, which will also cost PSG. So the best thing why
won't he agree personal terms with any other team?
No, because the best position for Mbappe is to get his money for 1 year from PSG and then go Real Madrid, and PSG can't actually do anything about that. They can bench him, but eventually, let's say
they're just paying him money to be benched.
They're paying him money to be benched, but he's their best player. Eventually, they'll have to succumb and play him because they want to win. So he's in the prime spot here. It's actually really peak on PSG. Yeah,
PSG, yeah, and I don't know if Neymar's staying there now, but he's back there being the main man.
I don't think it's a bad thing for PSG though. I don't honestly think everything that's going on is a bad thing for PSG in terms of they need a reset. Messi's obviously left, gone to America to take the piss out of everyone there. Mbappe's going to be leaving, whether it's this summer, whether it's January, whether it's next summer. Neymar, they could probably deal with one big name, I suppose, but it also wouldn't. I don't think many fans would be against Neymar leaving because then they've got a fresh start, a clean slate, and they haven't got the pressure of the names, if that makes sense. Like it's always been PSG with that front three, especially with their play style. They start with 8 men on the pitch as well.
Messi's obviously gone.
Yeah,
fair enough. Just very quickly, I've just had a little refresh of Twitter. Chelsea look to be back in the talks with Juve and a swap deal potentially for Dusan Vlahovic. So that could potentially be Chelsea's new striker. I did say Vlahovic for Rom. Yeah, Rom plus money, I assume it'd be, or something.
A lot of money.
Yeah. What do you guys think of Vlahovic as a striker? I don't know if you guys have watched too much of him. He hasn't been. I remember at Fiorentina, he was like so hyped, and obviously Arsenal were after him that January, and he ended up going to Juve, but it's been disappointing. So, is that a bad potential signing for Chelsea if they can't cut it in Serie A? What makes them think he's prime quality? Basically, is what I'm getting at.
I just think Chelsea need to get the striker they get needs to be so established because it's so easy to flop Chelsea right now. So Vlahovic is just like a flop waiting to happen. Jackson, I like Jackson because he's so like under the radar. No one really knew about him. There's not much pressure on him. You're not expecting Jackson to become Drogba tomorrow. So he can just do his thing under no pressure. And he's doing it right now. So I like that. I think that route is better for Chelsea. And I don't know. I don't think you need to sign another striker, actually. Now we've seen Jackson and we know Nkunku can...
enough to... Because we did mention earlier...
You're not going for the title. You're not going for the title. So, if you were going for a title, sure. But you've also got Nkunku who can fill in. You've got these false nines. I think you should just go for Felix again as well. False nine. Loan. I don't know what you need to do.
I don't think Atletico will be able to get. I think they want to make back what they spent on him, and I don't think they will.
No one's going to buy him. No one even wants Felix unless he's cheaper.
Yeah, no, of course. Anything else to add, guys, in terms of other teams? What's happened? I mean, Van Dijk's the captain of Liverpool, isn't he? But that's probably more expected.
Inevitable.
Yeah,
Was it Al
in
Hilal's
terms
front
of
three better than United's as well, or with Mahrez, Firmino, and so Maximin? That's probably a better front three, isn't it, Chavez, than United's?
If you were to go man for man, Mahrez is a better footballer than every right wing in Man United. Man for man, Firmino is right now a better striker than every striker in Man United. We haven't seen enough of Højlund. And at left wing, Rashford is better than, say, Maximin. So, yeah, you're right. They technically are. Wow. Great. And we'll see who wins more trophies next season.
Fair enough. Very quick on that one. Anything to add, Dan? Anything in terms of Watford? I know we ain't spoken about Watford.
No, there's nothing to talk about. Apparently we've been linked with Morelos from Rangers.
The old
Yeah, I'd take him providing we can sign him. Apparently, there's talks of him wanting to stay in Europe. He's been offered, obviously, as he would be, a lot of money from the Saudi clubs. But if we're the only sort of European club interested, yes, we're Championship, but there's always a chance that we'll get promoted in the next couple of years, which obviously means for him Premier League football.
Do you think promotions are fine this year at all? Or you
not? No, I've had enough of this year already, and the season hasn't even started. I'll say mid-table this year, potentially the year after, but we'll have to see how it goes. But yeah, no, in terms of incomings, there hasn't been a lot. Outgoings, there's been a lot. Sarr's gone to Marseille for around the £15 million mark. Obviously, we've touched on Pedro a lot before, 30 million. We've got a lot of Deadwood and stuff like that we've got rid of as well, which is always a bonus. But yeah, our season starts, this weekend. So, week earlier than you lot. So, enjoy watching the Football League for this weekend.
I'm excited for football to be back. Yeah, and anything to add, guys? Any other teams? Anything else? We finished? Amrabat, very quickly. Amrabat close, or do you think that'll be done?
I think we'll get Amrabat. We don't really buy two players at once because apparently our transfer team is only John Murtough. But yeah, we'll get him. He's a strong player. He will link up well. He's a good replacement for Casemiro. He's an engine. Yeah, he's a perfect type of player profile we need, and it's good to see.
Wicked, and I think that's a great place to sign off, guys. Take care. Tune in next week, where football will be back.